And first tonight, major breaking news that could transform the city of Charlotte for years to come. City councilors voting to bring the Republican National Convention to the Queen City. The vote following hours of debate and protest from supporters and critics. And now it is up to the Republican Party to pick a city to host the RNC.
That vote happening later this week. If you look closely at your screen, you can see a breakdown of tonight's final city council vote in Charlotte. 6 voted yes, 5 voted against the convention. NBC Charlotte's Kendall Morris joining us now with brand new reaction. Kendall?
Well, this vote means that Charlotte is one step closer to hosting the RNC 2020. Now, City Council heard opinions for and against hosting that convention, ultimately voting to welcome the GOP should they choose the Queen City. A city council meeting filled with opinions and emotion.
We do not want the Trump train and its garbage in our city.
I encourage you to vote to showcase Charlotte.
Our city will be seen as welcoming a convention that embraces racism.
Our city will be a hub for the sharing of goals and ideas that could very well shape the next 4 years of our country.
More than 100 people for and against hosting RNC 2020. Let the Charlotte City Council know how they feel.
Our industry relies on high-profile events and opportunities such as the DNC, the CIAA, the PGA tournament, and yes, the RNC.
The damage for hosting the RNC will far outweigh any potential and not yet guaranteed economic benefit.
City Council released an executive summary of the RNC 2020 contract, which states the city will receive a $50 million federal grant for convention costs. The host committee picks up the tab beyond that.
This agreement is stronger than what we had in 2012. It represents what I believe is now the state of the art in terms of protecting cities for these kinds of ventures.
The council narrowly voted 6-5 to accept the contract.
Let's work together as a community over the next 2 years to make sure all voices are heard.
I'm going to make sure that in this process, the interests of Charlotte are at the forefront.
The mayor now calling for unity as the city moves forward.
We need to work for the next 2 years in our city to make it possible for people to demonstrate, to have peaceful protests, and to make a difference.
Now all eyes are on Austin, Texas. That is where the GOP is set to hold its summer meeting later this week. Mayor Vi Lyle says she has been invited to Austin and will fly there if Charlotte is selected as the host city. Reporting live in Dilworth, Kendall Morris, NBC Charlotte.
It is a big deal, Kendall. Thank you. And while city leaders discussed the RNC inside the council chambers, protesters gathered outside the government center in Charlotte. There were 2 groups, one in support of the RNC and another expressing concerns about a separate issue, the recent deaths in the Mecklenburg County Jail. And while there were some heated moments, the protests remain relatively peaceful. We'll continue to follow this breaking news story and its impact on the Queen City. You can find updates on air, online, and inside the NBC Charlotte mobile app.